Startup begins with two young men, Taek-il and Sang-pil. Taek-il, a blonde-haired boy, has recently purchased a used motorcycle online. However, the conditions did not turn out to be as predicted, and the motor eventually failed. When they attempted to restart the engine, they were abruptly confronted by thugs who stomped and destroyed their motorcycle's rearview mirror. Taek-il becomes irritated and attempts to chase the gangsters, riding aggressively so that they become the target of police officers on patrol. Taek-il is unable to ride his motorcycle properly due to a mechanical issue, so he collides with something and falls. Taek-il and Sang-pil are promptly transported to the police station, where Taek-il's mother confronts him and chastises him for purchasing a motorcycle with his school money. Taek-il then tells his mother that he wants to drop out of school because he believes his mother would be unable to fund his tuition. Hearing this, Taek-il's mother, a former professional volleyball athlete, struck him in the face since he had made her upset and broken her heart by saying that. The next day, Taek-il resolves to flee home since he is unconcerned about his future and does not want to live the life his mother desires for him. Without a target in mind and only $10 in his pocket, he boarded a bus bound for anywhere. On the other side, his mother, who works hard to provide for their daily necessities, attempts to locate Taek-il by contacting him. However, he did not answer his phone either. Although she is harsh on Taek-il, she hopes that he would enjoy a better life than her. That is why she works so hard to pay for Taek-il's education in college. However, it appears that Taek-il does not comprehend his mother's wishes and abandons her. Meanwhile, Taek-il is on a bus heading to Gunsan, a small village in North Jeolla province. After getting off the bus, Taek-il ran into a red-haired girl named Kyung-ju, who hit him in the stomach because he made her angry. After traveling around the streets, Taek-il, who was tired and hungry, came across a noodle store that offered a bowl of noodle dishes for a low price. He rushed there and met the man who owned the restaurant, Gong. Just as Taek-il is about to devour a bowl of noodles for $3, a food delivery courier walks into the shop and heads to the kitchen. However, there is some bustle in the kitchen, and Taek-il notices the courier and runs out. Taek-il appears to be inquisitive about what happened there, but he is afraid to ask. After that, he decides to spend the night in a public bathhouse and think about his next step. Sang-pil is also seen living with his grandmother, who works as a nutshell. The next day, when Taek-il comes to the noodle store, he discovers that they require a meal delivery courier. Taek-il instantly applied for the position. Gong then informs Taek-il that he must labor for at least 3 months before asking a day off or leave to return home. Taek-il instantly agreed. Taek-il is then introduced to a food delivery courier named Gu-man, who appears irresponsible and drops the change he is carrying. The scene then cuts to Sang-pil meeting Dong-hwa, who offers him a job. However, Dong-hwa is hesitant to reveal the nature of the work and is about to do so with Sang-pil at a job interview. Turning back to Taek-il, the blonde-haired kid appeared to be quite intrigued about the noodle restaurant cook after seeing the occurrence the day before. Taek-il then goes into the kitchen to meet Geo-seok, a big man with a frightening demeanor and gaze. Taek-il was beaten unconscious by Geo-seok as a result of his rude attitude toward older people and statements that annoyed Geo-seok. Taek-il faints into the night as a result of the experience and is astonished to discover Geo-seok sleeping next to him, eyes wide open. Taek-il is found in a mess made for the noodle shop staff. The following day, Taek-il begins his first day as a food delivery courier. Taek-il's curious and outspoken demeanor sometimes frustrates Geo-seok, particularly when he mocks his large figure. Sang-pil also works as a loan shark and debt collector for Dong-hwa, as shown elsewhere. Meanwhile, Taek-il appears to get along with his coworkers, despite his frequent disagreements with Geo-seok over minor issues. Geo-seok and Taek-il then made a bet, which resulted in Taek-il becoming unconscious after Geo-seok punched him once. Meanwhile, while distributing business cards at the loan office where he works, Sang-pil notices Taek-il's mother by the side of the road, who appears to be in difficulty. Following that, Taek-il is seen carrying meals to someone who turns out to be Kyung-ju, the red-haired girl he met at the bus station. Because Taek-il is always nasty, even to women, Kyung-ju slaps him. Kyung-ju became enraged when Taek-il unintentionally touched her breast, and she promptly beat him. When Taek-il returns home beaten, Geo-seok can't help but mock him throughout. Taek-il's phone rings shortly after, indicating that he has an incoming video call. But because Taek-il was cleaning himself, Geo-seok tipped the phone. The caller's name is Sang-pil, and he seems astonished when Geo-seok answers. Taek-il observed this and grabbed his phone. Sang-pil seems to want to tell Taek-il about his mother, who appears to be struggling. Taek-il, on the other hand, appears unconcerned and immediately hangs up. During a lunch, Taek-il accidentally informs his coworkers that he had been beaten by a girl. Hearing this, Geo-seok teased him even more, causing him to laugh. Kyung-ju, who has just arrived at her hotel room, is astonished to see two foreign men speaking with their roommates. Kyung-ju and the two men then engage in a fight. But Kyung-ju was severely battered by them, so she fled. Meanwhile, Taek-il and his coworkers were relaxing on the roof when they noticed Kyung-ju running towards them. Taek-il, seeking vengeance, then jumped down and stopped her. But it turns out that Kyung-ju is in peril since the two men are after her and about to beat her. Taek-il does not remain silent and runs to help Kyung-ju, despite being beaten up in the end. Because the battle caused a commotion, the occupants instantly left their homes, prompting the two males to flee the scene. Taek-il then takes Kyung-ju to a diner to get her injuries treated right away. Kyung-ju thanked them and bid his goodbyes. Taek-il loans Kyung-ju his shoes once he notices she is barefoot. Taek-il seemed to be adjusting to his profession of delivering food and working hard. One day, Taek-il returns to deliver meals to Kyung-ju, who returns his shoes. However, Taek-il denies Kyung-ju's offer to pay for the supper. That evening, Taek-il receives his first salary and decides to treat everyone. Gong then advises Taek-il to return home from time to time to visit his mother. Taek-il refused Gong's instruction, so Geo-seok slapped him in the face and gave him harsh advice. This appears to have made Taek-il understand something, and he eventually resolved to pay his mother a visit. However, when Taek-il returns home, he discovers a message and learns that his mother is currently at work. Taek-il then meets Sang-pil and they share their lives after not seeing each other for a long period. Taek-il proposes that Sang-pil leave his employment as a loan shark and debt collector due to concerns about his safety. However, Sang-pil does not appear to be concerned about Taek-il's statements. Following that, Taek-il went to see his mother, who now operates a basic bakery that he purchased at a minimal cost. He then informs his mother that he now works in a noodle store in Gunsan City. However, his mother chastised him for working hard to pay for Taek-il's education and advised him to return home and continue his studies. Taek-il went against his mother's wishes and fled after paying her his first wage. After Taek-il leaves, a guy approaches his mother and threatens her that the bakery will soon be demolished since Taek-il's mother appears to have purchased the building unlawfully erected by the former owner. A few days later, Sang-pil is assigned to collect a loan from a male business owner. However, he was severely assaulted and had to be treated in a hospital. Elsewhere, Taek-il is involved in an event that causes him to tumble on the road when a motorist mistakenly nudges the motorcycle he is riding on, causing it to crash. The automobile driver turns out to be one of the individuals who assaulted Kyung-ju. Shortly later, Kyung-ju is eventually accepted to work as a waitress at a noodle shop, where Gong offers her the use of her late daughter's room after learning that she does not have a place to live. To celebrate Kyung-ju's arrival as a new employee, they went to a karaoke bar. Taek-il returns from there and confronts the man who assaulted him on the street, demanding vengeance. However, Taek-il is easily thrown down by the man, but Geo-seok intervenes by smearing chips over his face. Meanwhile, Sang-pil, who has been released from the hospital, attempts to exact revenge on the man who beat him. However, he is hesitant and acknowledges that his acts were incorrect. Not long after, the man who harmed Taek-il arrives at the restaurant with a group of thugs, and they destroy mayhem until the ashes of Gong's daughter's late cremation are scattered everywhere. Geo-seok eventually lost control of his anger and beat the thugs to a pulp. Taek-il and his coworkers learned that Geo-seok was formerly a mob boss who was well respected in the community, including by the police. Geo-seok, who had been injured in a struggle with a rival mobster, happened to meet Gong, who was going to commit himself in frustration over the death of his daughter. Geo-seok then saves Gong and encourages her to keep hope alive. Since then, Geo-seok has decided to start a new life as a cook at Gong's diner, leaving his existence as a mobster. Following the turmoil, Gong's diner is suddenly overrun with criminals who turn out to be Geo-seok's guys. A man named Tae-sung then requests that Geo-seok return to becoming a mafia boss, because the rival gangs frequently wreak havoc in their territory. Geo-seok, realizing that his presence could imperil Gong and the others, decides to depart and return to his old life as a mob boss. Gong appears to understand Geo-seok's decision and invites him to return at any moment because she is always welcome there. Taek-il appears devastated by Geo-seok's leaving as it turns out that he has considered Geo-seok to be his own family, despite the fact that they are constantly fighting and Geo-seok frequently mocks and beats him. Sang-pil notices that Taek-il's mother's bakery has been sealed and promptly calls Taek-il to inform him. The next day, Taek-il pays a visit to his mother, escorted by Kyung-ju. His mother then confessed that she had been duped by the previous building owner, who had purchased the land unlawfully. Taek-il, who appears frustrated by his mother's difficulties, asks Geo-seok for assistance. Geo-seok, on the other hand, advises Taek-il to mature and deal with his own issues. Meanwhile, Geo-seok appears to be visiting a rival gangster's headquarters, where he instructs them to stop causing havoc and respect each other's turf. However, because they refused the offer of peace, Geo-seok was obliged to fight them all and eventually overthrew the gangsters alone. Elsewhere, debt collectors visit Taek-il's mother to demand money for the bakery. Taek-il and Sang-pil attempt to stop them. However, because the debt collectors are from the same office as Sang-pil, Taek-il misinterprets and believes that Sang-pil has captured his mother. However, his mother informs him that she did not borrow money from Sang-pil. One of the debt collectors discovers an envelope containing salary money that Taek-il sent to her mother and delivers it to his employer. Taek-il's mother politely asks for the envelope, but the boss refuses. Taek-il attempts valiantly to hit the envelope, despite though he will be pounded to a pulp. Unwilling to witness her son abused and his first income taken away, Taek-il's mother stood up and used her abilities as a professional volleyball player to beat the debt collectors and retrieve Taek-il's wage envelope. Meanwhile, Geo-seok asks Tae-sung to drive him to a restaurant, where he borrows kitchen utensils to prepare his own food. Geo-seok then tells Tae-sung that cooking and working as a chef in a restaurant is his new life, and that he will no longer be a mob boss. Tae-sung finally understands and accepts Geo-seok's decision. Following the incident, Taek-il reunites with his mother, and they decide to reside at Sang-pil's house for a while because their own house has been confiscated to pay off debt. Meanwhile, Taek-il's mother's bakery is still being demolished. Even yet, Taek-il's mother is glad and happy that her son has returned home and is feeling better. So is Sang-pil. Following that occurrence, Dong-woo chooses to leave his moneylender and debt collector career and create a modest fried chicken restaurant. Geo-seok, on the other hand, decides to return to his position as chef at Gong's diner. Meanwhile, Kyung-ju returns to school after formally becoming Gong's adopted daughter. The film concludes with Taek-il taking his mother for a trip on a used motorcycle he purchased. The conclusion of the story is that a mother's love is not ageless and will not wane, even if her child frequently harms her. At the end of the day, a home is where we receive attention and care from individuals who actually love us unconditionally, such as our mothers.